Hello and welcome, everyone. Happy Monday to you. Hope you're having a great start to your week. This is day 3 of a 5-day series of kind of informal conversations all about our mindsets as small business owners. Mindset on the brain. I have been thinking about it nonstop for at least the last 7-8 weeks. Really, it's been something that I've been fascinated by for the last couple of years. And I've just been really enjoying sharing my findings with you over the last few days. So, hey, Bonnie, thanks for joining us again today. If you're here live with us, please be sure to introduce yourself in the chat over here at Crowdcast. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, hey, over there on Facebook Live, come on over to Crowdcast. You can find us at crowdcast.io/co-commercial. You can see today's event there, as well as tomorrow and Wednesday's events as well. So you can get signed up for all of those and make sure you don't miss them. Today, we're talking about the difference between magic and technology and how really the process behind your business is your business's greatest asset. And I'm going to explain all that in just a moment. But yay, we've got a whole bunch of people here on the line with us. Thanks, guys, for taking some time out of your Monday afternoon to join us. All right, I think we should probably go ahead and dive right in. So today's topic is one that is near and dear to my heart. It's one that I have personally experienced many times. It's one that I've coached a lot of clients through. It's one that I see our members kind of dealing with on a regular basis. And I'm really excited to dive into this one here today. So before we get to that, I kind of wanted to give you a little insight into how I think and what my mindset is. And one of the things that I do on a regular basis to support myself as a business owner, and this probably will come as no surprise to you, I listen to a lot of business podcasts. I'm the host of a business podcast. It would be a little hypocritical if I didn't also listen to a lot of business podcasts. I don't actually listen to a ton of business podcasts in the online business, small business world. I love to listen to podcasts about businesses that have grown to crazy levels or careers that are just at the pinnacle of their industries or their fields. And so some of my favorite current podcasts are Masters of Scale with Reid Hoffman. If you're at all interested in how Silicon Valley does their work, how they build the businesses that they build, Masters of Scale is a great podcast to listen to for that. And Reid does a really great job of making sort of unicorn business lessons really work for any kind of business. He does a really great job of balancing interviewing and teaching. And so that's one that I really, really enjoy. Another one that's on the newer side is called Without Fail by Alex Blumberg of Startup Podcast fame. I love Alex's interviewing style, and I love the people he's been interviewing because he's been interviewing a lot of sort of atypical business owners, entrepreneurs. And then I also really love the HubSpot's The Growth Show. And recently there's been a couple of interviews on there, one with the founder of Spartan Races and another with the founder of Cotopaxi that I have enjoyed for their kind of the intersection of my personal pursuits and my business pursuits. So those are 3 really great podcasts. If there's a podcast that you listen to and you really love and you want me to listen to it, or you think I should check it out, or you think folks tuning in should check it out, go ahead and pop it into the chat because I would love to look back and see what your recommendations are. I always need new podcasts to listen to. But the reason that I'm sharing this is because of the way or the why behind why I listen to podcasts. I listen to podcasts because I want to figure out how business owners, how entrepreneurs think, because I think that the way we think about our businesses kind of informs the way our businesses run, and it creates a capacity for growth. It creates momentum. It creates motivation. It creates inspiration. It creates operational prowess, right? The way we think about our businesses really influences how those businesses run. And so my goal in listening to any interview with any entrepreneur, whether it's a small business or it's a big business, is to really dive in and figure out, okay, how is this person thinking about what they do. And I'm regularly amazed at the intention behind how the entrepreneurs on these podcasts really think about what they do. But I also have to regularly remind myself that most of what seems like intention, purpose, being purposeful about the way these people have done what they've done, just reverse engineering. In other words, what seems like intention has been figured out as they did what they did to make it look like they knew what was going to work and why it worked. And this is a really natural thing that we do as human beings, and there is nothing wrong with it. But I know that I often can get really down on myself because I look at great entrepreneurs, I look at great business owners, and I think, oh man, the way they think about their business is so evolved. The way they consider operational procedures, the way they consider product development, the way they consider customer service, it's all so evolved and sophisticated and mature. And I'm not ever going to think like that. And of course, that's ridiculous because those people learned how to think like that too. They weren't born thinking about their businesses the way that they currently do. They reverse engineered that thought process, that mindset after they discovered what worked. Most of the time, anyway. And so that really gives me hope. It gives me hope that the way I approach my business can evolve over time as well. And of course, it absolutely has. I mean, I run my business now here 10 years into my entrepreneurial journey, completely different than I did at the beginning. And so these business owners, these entrepreneurs who think so strategically and intentionally about their businesses now give me a lot of hope, because what I realize, especially when you really get into these interviews, is that their businesses often started just as accidentally as mine did, or as yours did. You know, back on during the very first one of these conversations, we talked about how so many of our businesses start accidentally, where, you know, we kind of realize a year, 2 years, 5 years into the process, like, oh, I started a business. Oh, I started a company. I'm not just a freelancer. I'm not just gigging. I'm not just making some money on the side. I've got a business here. And a lot of times these great entrepreneurs are people whose businesses have started accidentally too. But over time, because they paid attention to their process, because they paid attention to what was working, they have evolved their thinking and their mindset so that what they do now is exceptionally intentional, and that creates a large capacity for growth. So really what I've noticed in listening to tons of podcasts and also in interviewing over 160 small business owners over the last 3 years is that there is always an underlying system to what makes someone's business work, even if that system often feels like magic. And that really is what brings us to our topic today, this difference between magic and technology. Now, magic is something that I hear small business owners talk about, frankly, a lot. And I don't mean magic as in kind of metaphysics or witchcraft or any of the words the occult. So I'm not talking about like literal magic, and I'm not at all getting down on woo businesses that employ actual magic. What I'm talking about is using magic, the idea of magic, as a stand-in for something that we don't understand. So often we talk about our coaching style as a little bit of magic, or our copywriting style. Maybe you're a copywriter, and the way the words appear on the page, sometimes it feels like magic. Or maybe you're an artist or a designer, and what comes out of your fingertips feels a little bit like magic. Or you're a business coach, and the strategy that you create or the positioning that you create along with your clients feels like magic. I have heard clients for years describe how they do what they do as magic, as something unexplainable, as something that's not replicable, as something that just simply happens. And they kind of almost have to pray for the best, but at the same time have confidence that that magic is going to happen. And a lot of times magic in this way is used to almost justify higher prices, because you can say, well, when you work with me, you get my magic. And that is something that people feel like they can charge more for, and that some people are willing to pay more for. But unfortunately, running your business with magic is a dead end for growth, because when you rely on magic to run your business, all of the value that you create stays connected to you. All of the magic that you create is dependent on you waving your magic wand and making that result, making that value come true, making it happen, kind of casting your spell. When you rely on magic in your business, customers really have to trust you personally in order to invest, which takes a lot longer. The buying cycle is really long when you have no way of explaining what your process is, when you have no way of explaining what your strategy or your framework is. And probably most importantly, when what your business does is magic, no one else can step in and do it for you. You can't train people how to cast the same spell that you're casting if you don't even know what that spell is. So magic becomes a story that we tell ourselves as business owners to avoid the work of actually growing business, which is figuring out how we do what we do, training other people to do it, finding ways to explain the value of what we offer beyond a personal relationship, beyond a leap of faith. And this becomes a real obstacle to growth. It's what often causes significant stagnation in a small business. And there's a quote that I really love that I think explains this phenomenon really powerfully. And it's from a dude named Arthur C. Clarke. Hands up, how many people know who Arthur C. Clarke is? I grew up watching Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World before I ever heard of 2001: A Space Odyssey. And Arthur C. Clarke is a futurist. He's a writer. He's a thinker. He is just an all-around super cool nerd who wrote a lot and thought about technology and the future and the world around us. And he was really interested in explaining how technology was shaping us as a culture, and how we interacted with technology as a culture and as a community. And he developed these kind of three rules for understanding technology and science and kind of what our relationship was with technology. And one of those rules is, quote, "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic." Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Now, what this means is pretty easy to understand. What he means is that, okay, iPhone, right? This is a piece of technology. It's an advanced piece of technology. Even 20 years ago, if you told me there would be a glass and metal box in my pocket that I could check the weather, I could check my email, I could check the internet, I could check all these different things. Okay, maybe not 20 years ago, because I'm just now realizing that's only 1998 and I'm feeling really old. But okay, maybe 30 years ago, the iPhone would feel like magic, right? Because your only concept of a computer at that point was one of those honkin' boxes that sat on a desk. And so shrinking the whole world's knowledge into this tiny box, shrinking the entire phone system into this tiny box, that would feel like magic, right? Even a car, go back 100 or 150, 200 years ago now, a car would feel like magic to someone from 200 years ago. in the last book that I just wrote called Subtle, I wrote about, or I shared a little detail of a story that happened to me back in Seattle a couple of years ago. It was my very first time using Amazon Prime Now, which is the sort of their immediate delivery system. I had to order a brand new microphone. The one I had been traveling with broke on me in my luggage, which was sad. But I went ahead and ordered a new one on Prime Now, and I was at the Creative Live offices at the time. And not even 12 minutes later, the doorbell of the offices rang, and someone brought me, some wonderful, wonderful Amazon employee brought me my new microphone within 12 minutes of my order. That felt like magic at the time. And obviously, I knew that there was a technology there. I knew that I had sent a little ping into the system that got somebody to get that microphone off the shelf and bring it to the office that fast. But it still felt magical at the time. And so we're surrounded on a daily basis by things that would 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago appear to be magic to anyone else. But we know there's technology behind it. There's bits, there's bytes, there's wires, there's receptors, there's processing chips. There's all sorts of things going on in our devices, in the internet, in our lighting systems, in our homes that are just little pieces of technology. Now, bringing this back to your business, technology doesn't have to be the bits and the bytes and the wires and the hardware systems. They don't even have to be software systems. Technology is really just a stand-in for the word process, procedure, system. We all have an underlying system, an underlying framework, an underlying process under our great work, whether that's coaching, whether it's writing, whether it's educating, whether it's design, whether it's art. There is some sort of process going on there. And you may not fully understand it at this point. I definitely don't fully understand what your process is, but I trust that there is a process there because I fully believe, just as Arthur C. Clarke said, that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. I believe that the technology that you have at your disposal right now is so advanced that you don't yet understand it. And so our job as small business owner then becomes to work to understand that technology, to work to discover what the system is, the process is, the procedure is. Because when we do, we have something that is insanely valuable, right? A piece of advanced technology. What a thing to base a business on. And it's an incredibly advanced piece of technology. And that's why that process, system, framework, whatever it looks like in your business, your business's greatest asset. Now, I saw that there are a couple of questions come in, and I want to just make sure. Let's see. All right, I'm going to get to those towards the end. I just want to make sure there wasn't questions about what I was talking about so far. Okay, so here's what happens when we start to understand that technology and when we start to put that particular piece of advanced technology, our advanced technology, at the center of our businesses. So the first thing that happens is we have the ability to better differentiate what we do from what everyone else does. Your process, that advanced technology that till this point, or has often felt like magic, that technology, that system is a point of differentiation for you and your business. It gives you the opportunity to say, this is how we do things, or we have a distinct process that we walk you through, or there are 8 steps that we take every single client through, or when we receive your commission, here's what the process looks like. Whatever it might be, that process becomes a way that you can separate yourself, separate your business from the competition. And differentiation, as you all know, in a very crowded market is huge. The more distinctly you can differentiate your business, the more definitively you can differentiate your business, the stronger a brand you're going to have, and the easier it's going to be to communicate with your best customers. Now, speaking of customers, the next thing that happens, get this technology piece right, and when you learn talk about it properly is that your customer ends up feeling more comfortable, right? Anytime someone can say, all right, I'm going to walk you through our signature 5-step process, or, my assistant here is going to explain how we work with our clients in these 3 different phases. And here's what happens in each phase. Whatever that might look like for you, that ability to walk people through a step-by-step process, or to explain what the template is, or to visualize it with a map and say, here's where we're going next. That makes customers more comfortable. And when customers are more comfortable, they are way more likely to buy, they're way more likely to refer, and they're way more likely to stick around and not ask for a refund if something were to go wrong, or if something feels, something gets a little off track, because they know exactly how to get it back on track, because they know what the process is. The third thing that happens when you put that process at the center of your business is that you can actually reach new audiences faster, and you can develop trust faster, because again, it's easier to explain what it is that you do. You're not relying on people becoming sufficiently interested in you personally so that you can cast your spell. Instead, you're relying on people buying into a clear-cut system. It becomes much more objective. It becomes much easier to understand. And that means that someone's able to go from becoming aware of what your business does and who you help, to becoming a buyer much more quickly than when you're relying on something that you think feels like magic, or that they think feels like magic. And then finally, the other thing that you can do when you start to put that technology at the center of your business is that you can hire people who can actually deliver the service for you, or who can develop products for your business. So you don't have to be the only person working with customers or working with clients. You can get other people to help actually create value for your business, which means that you get to spend more time on business development, more time on business growth, or just more time on the beach or in the mountains or with your family, or whatever it is that you like to do. Once you know what your process is, other people can do it for you. And your customers don't care, because if you have a process that's laid out, if you have a framework that's documented, and someone else is working on them, someone trained who is working them through it, they're getting the same value out of it. And so your business doesn't need you nearly as much. And that kind of goes along with the idea of making a mindset shift from special snowflake to special sauce. If you've read, if you listen to our bonus episode of What Works this week, I was talking about that. Okay, so let's talk about then, and then I'll take some questions. Let's talk about how to discover the technology or the process or the system behind your business. First things first, document, document, document. Make sure that every time you're working with a client, make sure that every time you're developing a process, that you're documenting the system that you're currently working with, and realize that everything is a system. Everything is a system. You don't have to build a system. Systems already exist. So as you're building a product, as you're delivering service, document what you're doing, and then ask yourself why you're doing it. That's sort of step number 2. So step number 1 is document, document, document. Step number 2 is ask yourself why you're what you're doing, and document that as well. Make sure you write that why down, because that's going to help you understand what the thought process is behind the underlying system. The third thing you're going to want to do is interview customers, find out how they used your work, because actually getting the customer's point of view can help you see parts of your process that you didn't realize existed, or they might see things that need to be documented that you hadn't documented yet, because maybe they just feel so natural to you, or maybe they feel just like inspiration to you, but actually your customer is seeing something really solid and objective that's there as well. And then the fourth part of this process, and this is really an important step of mastery of any skill, is to teach your process to someone else. Okay. So you're going to take what you've documented, you're going to take the thought process behind it, you're going to take all that customer input, and then you're going to take that and you're going to teach it to someone else. It could be a mentee, it could be a friend, it could be your partner, or it can be an employee that you hire and bring under your wing to teach them what your process is and expand the capacity of your business. Okay. So, Gigi said this is hard when you're the artist, and Leslie actually responded that a lot of artists have or had assistants who did the work, and I totally agree with that. And I think that also, there's different ways that you can put this to use if you are an artist, if you're a photographer, if you're an illustrator, if you're a designer, if you're someone who is genuinely creating from inspiration, creating from your mind's eye. There's still a process there. And there is absolutely something there that can be taught others. I think of Sue Bryce, and who's a wonderful photographer. She does sort of this kind of next generation glamour portraiture. So don't think like glamour shots at the mall. Think like absolutely gorgeous portraiture. Sue has developed a particular style, a particular process. And yes, absolutely, she has an amazing eye and a gift behind the lens, but she's created this process for seeing and for lighting and for backdrops and for just really every part of her photography process. She's taught it other people. Some of these people work with her in the studio, and other people she has taught her process to, and they've paid to learn that process, of course. So there's both sides to that. It could be something that you grow your business with, and it can be something that you make money off of teaching to other people, and it can be both, which is really exciting. So artists absolutely have the ability to make use of this as well. And it doesn't mean that everybody has to do this, but if you want to grow your business, if you're struggling to grow your business, if you feel like you've hit the ceiling, like your revenue has really plateaued and you're wondering why, this is those key pieces to moving past that ceiling, is starting to look at what that underlying technology is, starting to move away from the magic and moving into something that is much more replicable. Okay, I'm going to grab the couple of questions that have come in already. If you've got a question about what we're talking about today, or anything that we've covered the last few days that we've been talking about, mindset and kind of personal development as a small business owner, go ahead and use that Ask a Question button under the video area if you're here with us live on Crowdcast. If you're watching on Facebook, come on over to Crowdcast. Go to crowdcast.io/co-commercial. You'll see today's event, and you'll see the upcoming events for this week as well. Okay. First question is from Varvara. Hopefully I said that right. She says, struggle to dream big. For some point of view, being conservative is my strength because then I reach my goals moving forward step by step. But on the other hand, I feel it is limiting me. Maybe I could reach more if I dreamed bigger. What do you think? Should we dream big? What are your suggestions? Varvara, I think this is a fantastic question. And I think that different people have different goal-setting personalities and goal-setting strengths. And so what you're telling me is that you have, you've figured out that setting conservative goals is a strength of yours. It helps you manage your plans. It helps you manage your expectations. It helps you probably manage risk. And I think most of the time, going with strengths is the way to go. What I would say, though, is that I think there's always room for dreaming big. So even when someone comes to me and says, look, I deal really well with very manageable, very realistic goals, great. Okay, let's set a whole bunch of those and let's make sure that you've got your next steps defined in a way that makes you feel really comfortable and makes you feel like you're achieving success kind of step by step by step. But let's also make sure that we know where we're headed with that. Because I think the challenge with more conservative or realistic goal setting is that we're limited in the information that we have about what we're actually capable of. And so when we're setting goals based on what we think we're capable of, we tend to miss out on the opportunity to grow into something or better, something that we want even more. And so I think where you're struggling here is this friction between what you think you're capable of and what you really want. And so often when I hear people say that they struggle with dreaming big, what they mean by that is they don't actually know what is big that they really want. Maybe they don't feel that. They haven't felt that pull yet to something bigger. And so that's what I would invite you to explore. Keep setting conservative goals. Keep setting benchmarks and milestones that you know you can hit so that your day-to-day plans keep moving forward. But at the same time, make sure you're exposing yourself to things that feel unfamiliar, to things that maybe feel interesting but off limits. Maybe things that you don't currently feel like you're capable of. Expose yourself to that. See where you start to feel a pull. Because I think ideally, where we want to be is having a vision for what we really want. And that can be as big as you want it to be. Your measure of big is probably different than my measure of big. That's different from someone else's measure of big, right? So I want you to have that vision of what you really want. If you don't have that vision yet, that's totally fine and understandable. Or if you're finding that vision as evolving, like we talked about on day one, that's also completely understandable. My vision for my business today is completely different than it was 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And then work backwards from that vision so that you're creating those more conservative, quote unquote, realistic milestones that are anchored to where you actually want to go, as opposed to just asking yourself, okay, what do I think I'm capable of next? What do I think I'm capable of after that? What do I think I'm capable of after that? That's where you start spinning your wheels, frankly. So we want to balance thinking big, having big vision, and then working back to create those more conservative milestones from there. Okay. Says, I struggle with the problem of creating a, quote, growable business as a fine artist. Do you have any suggestions? Gigi says, I do the same work, teaching, workshops, gallery work, contests, podcasts, fine art, cards, calendars. That's what she does. Okay, cool. So Ginger, this idea of being a growable business. First off, again, what's your vision for your business? If your vision for your business is to be an artist in a studio and creating maybe 2 works per year and getting paid, I have no idea what, per work, or getting commissioned every couple of months by an organization or by a foundation or by a collector, there is nothing wrong with that kind of business. And you should absolutely not let the internet marketing bros tell you that there is, and that you need to have something else in mind, that you need to develop online courses, or that you need to sell prints, or that you need to do licensing. But on the other hand, if your vision for your business is to have a brand and to license your work, or to teach, or to mentor, that's perhaps a bit different of a vision. And that's maybe more in line with this idea of having a growable business. And we did talk about this a little bit. I want to say it was on Friday's chat. Really thinking about, I just mentioned this, but really thinking about an art business and yourself as an artist as a brand. And there are lots of examples of artists becoming brands out there. And sure, some of them you might say, oh, well, they really sold out. That is probably a matter of opinion and argument as well. What would it to create brand based on your art that is in line with your values, that feels authentic to you, that feels like it's in service of your art and your vision, as opposed to just making money. Not that there's anything wrong with just making money, but that's how I would tend to think about, creating something growable, creating something with nearly unlimited capacity as an artist. What is that brand that you want to create? Is the brand the artist in her studio that's kind of pouring into one piece at a time and selling it for top dollar? Or is it a brand that more than one person can buy into, that more than one person can create for, that more than one company can put on their products, that all sorts of different buyers want to have a piece of? Or somewhere in between. I think there's lots of opportunity there, but I think the key is really in thinking through what your vision for your brand as an artist is, and then finding a business model that fits that. And then that's where really all of this mindset stuff that we've been talking about the last few days really comes into play. All right. Any other questions on this topic? Go ahead and ask a question under the video area. Otherwise, I will say tomorrow we're going to be talking about failure or disappointing people, and why we end up taking it so personally, and how we can create a mindset shift around that so that failure becomes a learning opportunity, like a legit learning opportunity and not a cliche learning opportunity, so that we can use it to actually build stronger businesses, to build better products, develop stronger services. And then on Wednesday, we're going to be talking about balancing self-reliance and asking for help. So this is something that I certainly struggle with, and I have a feeling you struggle with it too. As entrepreneurs, small business owners, I think that we are incredibly self-reliant people. And some of us, I think, during or maybe in the evenings or outside of our businesses, we're the go-to people. And then often in our businesses, we're either still the go-to people, or sometimes we put the opposite hat on, where we don't feel like we can rely on ourselves because business is so new, or it's scary, or we've been told that we're bad at it in the past. And either way, it can then tricky to balance asking for help, talking with other people about what it is that you want, what it is that you do, how you do the things you do, what questions you might have. And I found, again, through personal experience and through talking to hundreds of business owners over the years, that it's really that balance of developing your self-reliance and developing the skill and the practice of asking for help that opens the door to real results. So that's tomorrow's chat and Wednesday's chat. Plus Wednesday afternoon, I'm going to be doing a full-length workshop. So it'll be an hour plus on 3 mindset shifts that small business owners need to make to create big results in their businesses. And so I'm going to be going a little bit more in depth than I have on these more kind of informal chats, and just really laying it out. So you'll hear some of what we've talked about here over the last few days, but a lot of it's going to be new. And so I hope you check that out as well. You can go to crowdcast.io/co-commercial to find all of those upcoming events. And then again, if you're interested in more of this mindset stuff, you can check out my latest book called Subtle: The Small Shifts That Lead to Big Results at cocommercial.co/subtle. That's cocommercial.co/subtle. All right, guys, I hope to see you during tomorrow's conversation. Keep those questions coming, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everyone.